joy and fun are deliberately planned for in your life so that there can be more of it. And that doesn't mean that it needs to be a lot of planning or it doesn't need to be Pinterest perfect at all. In fact, it can be pretty straightforward and simple.
Hey besties, and welcome to our cozy corner of the podcasting world. It's time for another episode of Share a Latte podcast. Here, extraordinary women gather like friends at a coffee shop, sipping on life's challenges and sharing how they've triumphed over every obstacle. I'm your host, Sukree, your virtual coffee bestie. I'm here to brew up a heartwarming cup of empowerment, one inspiring story at a time. Imagine us nestled up in a cozy cafe, surrounded by the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee, all set for a journey that stirs your heart, awakens your mind, and gears you up to tackle any challenge that's thrown your way. In each episode of Share a Latte, remarkable women share their stories about how they've weathered life's storms and emerged wiser, stronger, and more determined. These stories are like a warm embrace for your soul, reminding you that resilience and determination are the secret to success. So grab your favorite brew, get comfy, and get ready to soak in these amazing conversations. You'll discover your own power to turn these tough times into incredible strengths. The Share a Latte podcast sprinkles hope, courage, and the belief that you can not only handle life, but thrive into your day. All right, besties, it's time to embrace those tales of triumphs and get ready for another episode of Share a Latte. Hey there, besties, and welcome to Share a Latte, your favorite podcast where we share a brew and inspiring stories. I'm Sukree, your coffee companion, and today we're brewing up some amazing insights for all you hardworking moms out there. My guest today is Jessica Eastman Stewart, a true manifesto of a work-life balance. Jessica is your go-to guru for conquering the chaos of both the office and the home front. From her wisdom and online workshops, she's helping leaders like you craft systems that bring more productivity, joy, and ease into your daily grind. Whether you're sipping on a latte at your favorite coffee spot or stealing a moment of serenity at home, get ready for a shot of inspiration. Let's chat with Jessica and uncover some of her valuable tips for finding balance in the whirlwind of work and parenting. Grab your favorite coffee and let's dive into a coffee-friendly conversation. Hey besties, welcome back to another episode. I am so excited to have Jessica join us. Jessica is amazing and loves working with people to get their home and work organized. She has done the overwhelmed parenting thing and is now leading other women and other people into organizing their overall life and creating joy in a zen, peaceful place. So Jessica, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, really excited to be here. So I'm Jessica Eastman Stewart, and I love helping folks get more organized and more joyful in their lives. Those are the things that I care about. I care about having a more joyful life, having an easier life. And so that's what I like to do and help other folks do. So I have two kiddos. We're based in Northern California. I was a classroom teacher to start my career and then a nonprofit executive for over a decade. And now I get to help folks with digital products, and I do workshops and all sorts of other fun stuff to talk about getting organized at work and home.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So why don't you tell us what this means to build a more joyful culture at home? This is something that I've been trying to do for a while, and I feel like I am overcritical about where things are hung up and how they should be. And I don't think social media helps when you're getting people being like, if you want a feng shui home, this is what you need to do. Because I don't even think of all of that really plays into creating joy.
No, I totally agree. And I think what a joyful culture at home doesn't mean is that things are always perfect, because we're human beings. Honestly, even if you live alone, things are not always going to be joyful, right? Even if you live with another adult, there's going to be challenges in that relationship. If you live with children, it's especially going to be challenging because kids are learning how to be human. So they are going to go through all sorts of stuff. So a joyful culture does not mean things are all rainbows and puppy dogs all the time, right? Speaking of puppy dogs, that's not always joyful either, right?
No.
And so that is what it doesn't mean. But it does mean, in my opinion, that joy and fun are deliberately planned for in your life so that there can be more of it. And that doesn't mean that it needs to be a lot of planning, or it doesn't need to be Pinterest perfect at all. In fact, it can be pretty straightforward and simple, but it does mean that instead of letting life happen to us, we say intentionally, you know what, I want more fun, or I want more joy in my life, and I'm going to do a thing or two to help that be the case.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You're a mom of two.
That's right. I'm a mom of two.
So being a mom in general is busy and creates different pockets of joy, because I feel like we have to take a step back. But how do you create it with two little ones in the house? And are you doing it on a selfish basis, or are you doing it more on a family basis?
Yeah, both. And I actually think that it's important to do both. When it comes to just myself, I get a lot of joy personally out of spending time with friends, for example. I go for a weekend away every year with a mom's group that I met when my littlest was born. And my kids, do they love that I go away for the weekend? They do not. But it's important to me. And I think that I want them to grow up to see that they can prioritize their own happiness. Yes. Even if it's not convenient for every single person around them, because the most important relationship we have is with ourselves, right? That's the relationship we have from the time we're born to the time we pass on. And we've got to take care of ourselves. That's our main responsibility. And so I do that and I model that. And sometimes it means that they're annoyed by it. Sometimes I say, you know what, I'm going out to grab a drink with a friend and I won't be here for bedtime. And luckily my husband can do that kind of stuff. Sometimes we get a babysitter because we do the joy for ourselves, even when it is not convenient for everybody around us. But as a family, we put a lot of energy into trying to create little pockets of joy throughout our lives. And yeah, I think that's really important.
I love that you brought up that you go on a mom's trip. Is it every year? Is it like every 6 months?
Yeah, it's every year. I wish it was more often. We, as a mom's group, we have gotten into a rhythm where we go on a mom's weekend away in the springtime. And most of us go on a camping trip as a family. It's a little more glamping. It's not that. There's 10
You're
beds.
trying to justify this to the wrong girl.
No, camping, I'm not really a sleep on the ground kind of person.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no.
We go with our
camping is like the nice domes.
Yes, exactly. So we go with our whole families, and the kids get to play, and the partners are there, and that is a lot of fun too. That's the kind of rhythm that we're in as a group. But yes, we go on this mom's group, and I also do other trips. I last year went on a business trip and added some days to see some friends to it, and I was gone for 9 days. But I was filling up my own cup, both like I was doing my professional work that I need to do to support our family, but also seeing people that I care about and getting a lot of fun in myself. And I think that everybody should have permission to do that. And I acknowledge that the support and resources to do that is not available to everybody. But I want to continue working towards a world where we've all got the permission to do that, and that we try not to make excuses unless where we can. So where there's opportunity for creating little pockets of, I'm going to go away for an hour and read by myself and nobody's going to talk to me, whether it's that or like more like an actual trip away, that we all get opportunities to find our joy.
I love that you have added in the fact that it's a little bit about you and a little bit about your family. I think that's something that's completely forgotten when you get into motherhood, is that you feel like you have to give up everything or become this person who's at home all the time. I have heard about many female entrepreneurs who feel guilty about going on these small trips with or traveling for business. But if a man does it, it's completely okay for him to leave his kids for a couple of days.
Exactly.
So you're adding those pieces in and reminding us that we need to be a little selfish about ourselves and the relationship that we have with ourselves.
And ideally, we also have the kind of support at home where we don't have to prepare every possible thing before we go, that we've got, especially where we are living in homes where there are other adults, that we trust that the other adults can take care of children as well. I really appreciate that when I leave, I don't need to leave a meal plan and every little detail for my partner. He is also a parent. He can take care of our children. He knows how to feed them. He can handle it. And is it easier when both of us are around? It certainly is. And it is okay to expect that. of folks.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I feel grateful
Absolutely.
for that. And I want to continue moving us all towards a world where, we get that support.
Yes, absolutely. I'm totally for that. Okay, so let us know how we can create this joy in our home.
Yeah, definitely. I think the first thing is to clarify what makes your family feel good and feel joyful. And that answer is not going to be the same for everybody, but just get clear. So I'll give some examples. In our family, each season, we make a seasonal fun list. So right now, for example, we have a summer fun list. And this is a list of the things that we want to do in the summertime because we really enjoy them. So we brainstorm that as a group. We're sitting around. Sometimes we do it at dinner. This time we actually were swimming, and I was sitting outside the pool because I was done. And my family was, and I was like, what do we want to do this summer? I'm going to write it down. And then we all just brainstormed. And I was like, there's a nearby water park that has these like evening events, like water park in the dark. And I was like, let's go to that one time. We said, let's go out and do a picnic for dinner one night out in a park. Or we want to pick cherries. We live in a place where you can pick cherries. And so we wanted to do that this summer. And so we brainstormed this list. And when my kids were little, their list would be like, there was one time I remember my son said, I want to build Legos outside and then show them to the neighbors. And I was like, okay,
That's
buddy,
so cute.
that's your joy. All right, we're going to build Legos outside and then show the neighbors. And we brainstorm that list, and it doesn't have to, and then we post it up and we look at it, and about once a week we say, what do we want to do this week and when can we do it? And so that's a fun way that we do some fun, because in the fall, we want to go to a pumpkin patch. We want to do all sorts of other things. In the winter, we like to go see Christmas lights. So there's lots of different things we do. So seasonal fun list is one thing we like to do. Another fun thing we like to do is to incorporate a little more connection into our dinner time. And so you can actually find like family conversation cards on Amazon. We have a couple boxes of them. You can just look for them. But essentially, they're just cards with like interesting questions for families to talk about. So they might be like, would you rather fly or be invisible? Or what is the biggest change you've ever gone through in your life? Or just different things that, and then we'll have one of the kids pick a question, and then we'll just use that to guide conversation at dinner. And it's a way to connect and have a little bit of joy. So one thing we also do at dinner sometimes is just get out a joke book. And as we're eating, we'll just, because you can get a joke book for pretty cheap, and we'll, do that, or do like after we're eating, we'll do a Mad Libs or something. So those are some like low cost ways to incorporate at a family meal. We also I like to make things a game a lot. So I'll give an example from last,
which is something I love right now.
Yeah. So like last week, my kids were having a little bit of trouble getting ready in the morning. Like I had reminded them like 3 times already to put on their shoes, and they need to get their lunch, and they need to put on sunscreen, and they need to get a water bottle. So they have all these things they need to do before summer camp. So I just decided at some point, like I sat on the stairs and I said, okay, go get your shoes. And when you're done, come give me a high five. Ready, go. And like my kids are 7 and 9, and it worked because it just gave them like a short period of time and created a little bit of urgency. And they gave me a high five, and I was like, you ready for your next mission? Okay, water bottle, go. And then, so I try to create little fun moments. Honestly, that was just because I just needed to get out of the door, but it was more fun than me like yelling at them or being annoyed or it made it more fun for all of us. I think rituals can also be a really fun thing. So we have a current ritual. We've been doing it for about 2.5 years now of Friday movie nights. So we eat pizza, delivery pizza, and we watch a movie every Friday. So that's like a ritual that we have.
So
another ritual.
Rotate in who picks the movie?
Yes, we do. And the kids are the ones who rotate. So my husband and I, unfortunately, don't get any say in this project, but the kids love it. I am a Starbucks person. So I love going to Starbucks.
Preaching to the choir.
I'm not a coffee drinker, but I love the mango dragon fruit refreshers. So
it's so good.
Yeah. So my kids were always asking for me to take them. And so I decided to figure out how can I ritualize that in a way that it's fun, but they're not asking me all the time. And so the way I do it is Saturday morning, I take my daughter with me to Starbucks, and it's just the 2 of us, and we get some alone time, and it's a really nice time. And then Sunday morning, I take my son, And so they know to expect it. And it creates a little bit of fun in our day. And I get some one-on-one time with them, which is nice. So that little like ritual is really nice. I think there's a lot of research that supports gratitude. And so whether that's incorporating like a conversation, like, what are you thankful for at dinner? Or when you wake up in the morning, or something you say right before you go to bed. I think being regularly grateful actually rewires your brain to look for more things to be grateful for. So I think that is a strong way as well. And then I think another just quick, easy idea is if you ever have, like after dinner, especially if people are grumpy in my family, I will often suggest yeah, they're like, I don't know, they're like grumpy because like they wanted to do something else and now we're making them eat food. And why would you make children eat food instead of finish their Lego project? It's terrible parents. And so if we're having a grumpy day, I will often suggest a dessert walk. And so there's nothing super crazy about that. We just get something that you can carry for dessert. So maybe it's like a little ice cream cone or a popsicle, even those cheap Otter Pops. And we just each get one and then we go for a walk while we eat it. But it like gets us out of the house. But it incorporates like fun dessert. And it's a little more memorable than whatever else we were going to do during that 10 or 15 minutes. And so dessert walks are also another fun way to just get something a little bit different and joyful into your day.
I love that you're also creating these little routines and rituals with your kids who are going to remember all these little things that happen. Like Sundays, I used to go with my mom to Starbucks. And I think those are the little things too that get passed down to the next generations that they're going to do with potentially their kids. I also love that you like inject little pieces of joy in random times throughout the day. This is amazing. I love this. Okay, so I mean, we've already talked about it, but why should we be bringing joy? You said it. Yeah. Gratitude is a big one. Gratitude runs heavily in my world. I'm always constantly reminding myself there's always something to be grateful for, even if it's just the moments of being alive. But why else should we be creating this in our lives?
Yeah, I think two reasons. I think the first is, I think it's a quote from Mary Oliver. We only get one wild and precious life. Maybe joy is the whole point. And so let's have a good time while we're here. So that's one. I think the other piece is just that the foundation of a family is like loving each other. But I think what helps families stay connected is fun. So like love is the foundation, but like having fun together is the stuff that really continues to keep things strong. And to the extent that I noticed that in lots of my relationships with friends and with my extended family, my parents, that when we have fun together, that relationship is strengthened. And so fun doesn't happen as often as we want it to unless we plan ahead for it. So making that effort really pays off in the end. Even just that, like I said, that 5 minutes of sharing jokes at dinner from a joke book, or the dessert walk, or the quick little game of give me a high five once you've got your shoes on, give me another high five once you got your water bottle. Like those things just make the whole day better. Even amidst all the other nonsense that's going on in the broader world, in somebody being grumpy, in we just didn't get enough sleep last night, like all of that is real and going to happen. But when we add in those moments of joy, it somehow just makes all of it go better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to deviate for a second. How can we implement you've already talked about how you're implementing it with your own children, but I think as a mom, I think you overanalyze it and you're not really thinking outside the box. So what advice would you give to my newly moms out there who might be listening, or even just the fun, cool aunt who I aspire to be sometimes?
Right?
Yeah. So how are we going to implement this into the next generation? We don't want them to struggle the same way we did to find these little pockets of joy. Because I'm going to tell you, like, it takes so much practice and you don't even think about it until you're having to be like, I'm not happy because I'm not finding all these little pockets of joy.
Totally. So exactly. So I think, first of all, like systematizing fun is not a bad thing. So folks should feel, in fact, we need to build those habits and we can use systems to support it. So you can either use the habit science of making it obvious, so for example, let's say you want to do some jokes at dinner. Get the joke book, put it on the dinner table. So then tonight, when you're like in the midst of all the nonsense of making dinner, then you sit down and you remember, oh yes, here it is. So making it obvious is putting out a little post-it for yourself. Say, what are we grateful for? And we say it on the way out the door. You can put reminders for yourself. You can set a reminder in your phone. Just say, remind me every week on Thursday to whatever that idea is. So for example, I have a reminder on my phone and I write a little post-it. One week I do it for my daughter, the next week I do it for my son. And I just write a little nice post-it to them and put it somewhere secret where they'll find it. And maybe it would be somehow better if I just remembered to do that on my own. But the reality is I've got so much going on in my life, and that phone reminder helps me do that. Every week I write a nice little, I can't wait to watch your baseball game this weekend, or I'm so glad you're home from your trip. And it is meaningful, but I don't feel bad for having technology support me to remember to do that. So folks should feel really confident with that. And then I think you can implement in other parts of your life too. This doesn't have to just be a family thing. So for example, starting off your meetings at work with an icebreaker question can be a great way to create moments of connection. Yeah. I actually have I've been collecting icebreaker questions because I love them for a decade. I have 14 pages. I have 14 pages of them for free on my website if anybody ever needs one, because I love them so much. We'll talk about
at the end of the episode, so stay tuned. She will be dropping all her specifics at the end of the episode, and they will be in the show notes, so do not worry, people. But you need to share with us some of your favorite ones.
Yeah. Okay. So I love, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? So you want to have a super light one, and it can just be like, what's a show you're really enjoying right now? Or what's a show you've enjoyed this year? Or what's a book you've read? But you can also have ones that help get to know each other in a more deep level. Like, what is one place that is home, that feels like home to you? Or what food feels like home to you? Or what food feels like celebration to you? What's your celebration food in your family or your culture or your personal life?
I'm such a big foodie. All these food questions are like, tell me more.
Making you I know.
Maybe asking people in the future on this podcast.
Or you could even ask people, find a photo on your phone and show it to us and tell us a little bit about it. Give people a minute to do that. Or what's your favorite phone app? Or let's say you could ask them, let's say we're all going to stand in line at the post office tomorrow. Like, what app are you going to bring up to pass the time? So there's lots of little questions you can ask. I think planning ahead for those can be really helpful. I think you can also think about seasonal fun at work. When I was a nonprofit leader, I loved to get candy for the season and put it on everybody's desk, or take time in October to take part of a team meeting and do a pumpkin carving contest in the office, or get outside and each plant a little flower and take it home during the springtime. So there are lots of ways you can think about that as well. And then I also think thinking outside the box about relationships with the adults in your life. So whether that's really good friends you've got or a significant other, finding adventures to do with other adults can be a great way to strengthen relationships. You can just Google date ideas, and feel free to use those date ideas with friends, because dates don't need to only be with significant others. You can have friend dates. Think about interesting things like, oh, I can go throw axes. That's interesting. Or, hey, we could do I actually read about a date night the other day, and somebody put it together, and it was basically a date night in, and the idea was they spent 90 minutes watching really funny YouTube videos together. And I love that idea, right? And actually on their website, they'd put all the links so you could just watch theirs that were really funny. And I love that kind of thing. So it adds a little bit of novelty in. I say building in some of those things. I mean, you could even use date ideas to brainstorm like stuff to do with your work friends or with the whole family, right? Like you could be like, hey, these are date night ideas, but how could I incorporate that with my family reunion or my extended family or somebody's birthday that's an adult that we're going to celebrate? Those ideas can support those as well.
Yeah. I'm going to suggest everybody, though, go in and get her, and I haven't seen them yet, but I will, the icebreaker questions, because I have several icebreaker questions that I bring on first dates just to test the guy out and see if it's all a match.
I love it.
Because you really tap into somebody's personality and psyche and their lifestyle. And if it's not a match with you, then there's just nothing that's going to propel you to, or there's a good way to end it early. So I love that.
I love the idea of using icebreaker questions on first dates. I'm going to I'm going to share that idea with my audience because I feel like that's a great use of them. I love that.
Yeah, there's a specific one I use often, and I'll even do it on an app if I find them through an app. And I'm like, okay, things are
Yeah.
going well. So before I give them out my number, I may drop like one of my icebreaker questions. My favorite one happens to be from Julie and Michael. She was a bachelorette on The Bachelor, and I think she was season 5.
Okay.
But she dragged the Bachelor into the kitchen, and she had all these condiments laid out, and they were making hot dogs. And she was like, I believe that what a man puts on his meat truly depicts who he is as a person. And he was confused. He was like, wait, what? And she was like, just dress your hot dog like you would. And she had all the fixings, like what you would find at like a baseball game, for instance.
Yeah.
And she was like, and then I'll tell you what I'm interpreting. And they hadn't really had a lot of time together. But I will tell you, this is one of my favorite ones, because if a guy tells me that he's just a ketchup guy, he's probably not going to fit in my world. It's a little too by the book.
Yes.
It's a little too traditional. But if he tells me, like, my favorite answers have always been like, oh, I'm putting everything on there, and I would want to add hot sauce, because this means like he's willing to try anything possible. If I'm like, let's go skydiving tomorrow, I wouldn't, because it's not me.
Yeah.
But he'd be like, let's go. So
he'd be like, let's do it. Love that.
So that's one of my favorite ones. And I think using them for first dates really helps a person connect with other people. So
awesome. I'm going to add that to my
questions.
Yeah, I always, every week I'm adding new ones to my list. And then every couple months or year, I like add new pages to my free resource, because I'm like, these are so good. So I love that. That will get added in the next edition.
Amazing. I love it. Awesome. Now that you've told us like how and why we should be creating these pockets, is there any small implementation that we can put into practice today to create this joyful life? Because I'm telling you guys, like, if you're listening to this, you're not going to see the big smile that's on this person's face. Jessica has the biggest smile. Go to my Instagram. You'll see the smile. It's gorgeous. So obviously you're bringing a lot of joy into your life, because you're smiling a lot, which I believe really is how you resonate from the inside. So what can we implement in today that's going to create a little more joy?
Yeah, I would say tonight or tomorrow morning, think of one thing we've talked about today and just try it out. You don't have to do it ever again. You can just try it, right? There's no high stakes here. So the easiest ones to do, go get the free icebreaker resource, and then ask one of those questions tonight at dinner. Just pick one and just say, I saw an interesting question today while I was on the internet, so I'd love to hear your answers. And ask that question of your family or your people that you're having a meal with, right? Or tonight before you go to bed, think about and write down one thing you're grateful for. You could ask other people in your life. You're putting children to bed. Ask them what they're grateful for. One thing that, if they're really little, you might want to say, what's one thing that makes you happy? Because grateful might be a word that's a little tricky for little ones. Go for a dessert walk tonight, even by yourself, and just enjoy it, right? You could do a little game after dinner tonight. You've probably got something in your house, some cards, some sort of game, like taking time to play a short game. One of my favorites is Spot It, because it's just a really quick and easy game, and adults and kids really like it. But play a quick and easy game, just one round. It doesn't need to take more than a couple minutes, but I promise that it will be more memorable than just whatever else you might be doing, just scrolling or something that wasn't as connecting. So just try one of those ideas. And then from there, go find folks that are on the internet sharing ideas about family fun or about more joy in your life. Follow them. They will share ideas. And occasionally you'll be like, I hate that idea. That sounds like me, not at all. And you won't do it. And sometimes you'll be like, that's so fun. I'm going to try that idea. Right? So find other folks that'll help fill up your life with joy. And by the way, unfollow anybody who's making you feel any sort of negative feelings. Go ahead and unfollow them, because you don't need that in your life.
I love that. Thank you so much. This was such a wonderful episode. I hope everybody implements a little more joy into their day. And I know that you give daily tips on your social media. So why don't you share with us your website and your socials?
Sure. So folks can find all of my resources. My free resources are at jessicaeastmanstewart.com/freebies. So that's where you can get the icebreakers. There's other things in there too. There's things about how to stay more organized at home. There's lots of different tips. On LinkedIn, I mostly share tips for getting more organized at work and being a working parent. So Jessica Eastman Stewart on LinkedIn. And then on Instagram, Joyfully Managed Family is where you can find me. Tips for all sorts of things and lots of quick tips, lots of permission to be more joyful and reminders that you're already doing a good job.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us. And we will see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap on today's caffeinated conversation on Share a Latte. A huge thanks goes to Jessica Eastman Stewart for gracing us with her wisdom and insights. I hope you enjoyed all the sage advice that Jessica has given us during this episode, and it helps you create those pockets of joy in your life. Until next time, keep sipping and keep sharing lattes. And most importantly, keep finding the joy in life's daily grind. If today's episode added a touch of warmth and inspiration to your day, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. By doing so, you won't miss out on any future heartwarming journeys we'll embark on together. And hey, if you enjoyed our flavorful conversations and the embrace of this beautiful podcast, why not take a moment to leave a review? Your thoughts and your feedback mean the world to me, and it might even help others discover the magic of Share a Latte. So whether it's a few words or a heartfelt reflection, your review goes a long way in spreading the joy. Life is like a perfectly brewed cup of coffee, a blend of experiences that come together to create something truly remarkable. Just like every bean contributes to a unique flavor, every cup in our cup of stories adds a depth of richness to our journey. Until next time, besties, remember you have the power to turn your trials into triumphs and your scars into stars. Keep believing in yourself, keep chasing those dreams, and above all else, keep thriving. This is Min taking her last sip from the Share a Latte podcast, reminding you that life happens and coffee helps.